Welcome back, everyone, to today's episode of the Cuptalk Show. My name is Adira Rachel, and I'm proud to be your host. Before we get on into today's topic of the day, I have a very, very beautiful, intelligent, formidable guest. Actually, even told me that she's a specialist in this field. Before I get on to today's topic, I'm going to let her introduce herself. Then we can be able to kickstart the show. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for hosting me. It's an honor being here. My name is Farida Nawatovu. Like she said, I could be having experience and an idea about today's topic, and it's exciting to share with you, all our viewers. And I believe we shall learn from it, and we shall have to get experience. And maybe if you happen to be one, if you happen to be a victim, how can you get out of this?
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how you've already sprinkled some information.
Thank you.
And the guests out there are getting an idea or two. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is in regards to toxic relationships. So I'm going to ask our specialists a few questions so that we can be able to unravel the topic and someone out there can be able to at least learn something. Okay? So, Miss Farida, what would you give, for example, maybe a definition in regards to what a toxic relationship might be?
Thank you so much, Rachel. Basically, what do you understand by the term a toxic relationship? We've all been there, or we could be heading there, or we could have seen maybe our sisters, our brothers, people that have been in relationships, but then there's this kind of hardships they face in these relationships, and that's why we come up to know the toxic relationships in regards. Basically, this is one of the relationships that is unhealthy, or it's having unhealthy dynamics and causes, and to an extent of causing distress, causing harm, because there is no respect within your relationship, there is manipulation, and there's an extent of having abuse. So basically, when you look at how bad a relationship goes to an extra mile of that kind of situation, just know that's a red flag for you. And trust me, you need to think twice before you continue with such a relationship.
You've mentioned something that has caught my attention. You've said red flag. I read this somewhere where someone says where what if it's pink? Like it's not that red, but it's also not whitish, but it's just pink. So this leads me to this question: how can someone tell that they are actually in a toxic relationship? It might not actually even be maybe relationships between adults of sound mind. No, I'm talking about maybe it could be family. You know, some relationships with family can a bit toxic. It could be maybe in the workplace, and it could be also the people they are dating. Besides that, it can actually be friends. Yes,
It's everywhere.
so how can someone be able to tell the red flags and know that they're actually not pink?
Well, thank you so much. Basically, all around the world, at least one or the other has caused to toxic relationships. Like she mentioned, there could be friends, there could be your workmates, colleagues, there could be your family members, because we've seen this experience, we've had all it round, because the involvement of people in regards to friendship, in regards to relationships, but at one point that there's that aspect which comes in, and you literally can't tell why could this come up at this particular time. And sometimes we hit ourselves hard, and you're like, why me, Rachel? Why me? That's when you find girls, boys, ladies and gentlemen sitting down and they're crying. Tears are rolling down because they are suppressed, they are distressed, and they cannot come out of this kind of relationship. So basically, I'm going to talk about constant criticisms. You can never do something and someone appreciates you. They always keep pinning you. Oh my God, Farida, this is not supposed to be done this way.
Yeah.
Farida, you would have done this.
To make you feel like you're not good enough.
Exactly. Sometimes things that are really light. For example, I would just give, okay, Farida, you wouldn't have held the cup this way. You need to hold the cup this way.
No, actually, especially when it's
God.
dating. Why are you dressed like that?
Exactly. When now...
Why do you have makeup like that?
There's a scenario that actually happened. We were in a hotel and we were having like dining, usually dinner. You do dinners, but then we were seated somewhere with friends, and there was a couple next table, and to an extent where we all felt like this is not the right way of doing things. Okay, all of us are not good at table etiquette, I would say.
Yes.
And the way you hold cutlery is not the way I hold it.
Yes.
Besides, I would have learnt it from YouTube, but then I do not know that this is how it's supposed to be done.
Held.
And besides, you have your own perspective of perceiving things,
Yes.
and I have mine as well. So this lady was trying to copy
Mambi.
the gentleman he had gone on a date with, just because she never held the fork and the knife the
correctly.
right way.
Yes.
The guy just banged the table.
Okay, that's very aggressive.
It was very aggressive.
That's a red flag.
Because we actually all turned. We all turned, and then we were really, really hurt, because at that moment we felt like if the lady really put in her all to copy from the gentleman, she was trying to get used to something, but then she's not
she's
yet
just
there.
trying.
So instead of the guy maybe showing her to do this, or perhaps let the lady do what she knows, you could use just a fork, or you could actually ignore the knife, because we've seen restaurants where people wash hands and eat, but we've also seen where people only use a fork or a spoon when you're eating. And then this guy banged the table. We all turned and we were like, wow. But the
that's very
wow,
aggressive.
which is hurting, because at this particular moment in public you couldn't do such a thing.
Yes.
And all we had to do was to call the waiters and waitresses to involve, because next we would see would be a fight.
A slap.
Because this was a lady who shook her head wondering,
Like,
oh my
why?
God, what is this?
That's a toxic person.
It's a toxic,
Because I feel like
person.
the right way that he would have addressed the situation was like, Han, this is how they hold it.
Exactly.
Or it's okay, you can just hold a what?
Thank you.
Using the fork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have mentioned a touchy-feely topic that someone out there would be able to relate with.
Yeah.
Besides that, just adding more insight into this, toxic relationships usually have gaslighters.
Yeah, they do. They do. Definitely.
There is someone who will enter inside your head and make you think that you are this, and yet you're not.
You're not, exactly.
So I know sometimes it's hard for us to believe and have self-worth and have self-efficacy.
Yeah.
But these people actually enter your head.
They do. They do. Do you know someone can change your character because they want you to be like so and so?
Yes. I actually had a story. So this guy, I think I can share it because she's okay with it. So a friend of mine was dating someone. Yes. She didn't even know she was in a toxic relationship.
Wow.
So this guy had recently broken up with someone, their ex. But he got this gap filler.
Yeah.
I call them gap filler. You know, they have not yet moved on from the other.
Yeah.
So they got my friend as a gap filler. She didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he molded her to be the exact same version of his ex.
Oh no.
We got to realize when it's like too late, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This girl was actually going through a very hard time.
Yeah.
It reached a point where he nicknamed her the name
That's so
of
sad.
his,
That's so sad.
so that is really toxic.
And those are the red flags we are talking about, because ideally it happens most times in relationships where an ex was too good
Yeah.
compared to the recent one. And this person, okay, let me give an example. There are socialites who are out there, they've made it in life, and then you find this humble Rachel who is maybe out of university, has just graduated, and she's having her job, she's trying to make ends meet. And then you come and bump into a Samuel somewhere, and Samuel wants you to be the exact Doreen
Yes.
that was there before. And for you, just because you're, sometimes people that come into some people's lives after they've had a worse experience tend to feel or have all consequences in regards to criticism. Because when you look at me trying to be Doreen, yet I'm Rachel.
And in the
It
end, you
can never
actually don't
happen.
know until
Exactly.
it's extreme.
Exactly.
You've gone down the path too deep,
Yeah.
and then you realize, oh my God, actually I was in a toxic relationship.
Very true.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me you're moving with a guy and then he has to dictate the kind of clothes you're to wear, the
That's
makeup
toxic.
you're to wear, and then at the end of the day, the kind of food you're going to select off the menu. Do you know when it gets now? The most interesting part is basically when it comes to dates. That's when you realize that this
You start seeing
relationship
red flags.
should have question marks.
Yes.
Because how can we reach in a restaurant and then you determine what I'm going to eat? Okay, good. You would determine what I'm going to eat with the reason. Maybe the cost is too high, or maybe this and that. But then you can't tell me to take the same food you're taking. No.
Actually,
It's not
scratch
that
that.
way.
I think we are even playing in shallow waters.
Yeah, true.
Because there are actually relationships that are abusive.
Very, very abusive.
Besides just words, I think that's shallow waters, where we talked about manipulation,
Yeah.
criticism, and all that
Yeah.
in the extreme levels. Now, there are very abusive relationships where
That's
it
true.
goes past verbal and now it's physical.
Yeah.
And somehow, somewhere, someone is blinded and they still don't see that it's toxic.
True.
Like it's bad for you.
True.
Because someone gets out of their way and raises their finger at you
Yeah,
and
they
will
do.
hit you
They
or
do.
beats you.
And that's too far.
And someone still stays. So, this leads me to my next question. If someone has been able to self-diagnose and see that they are actually in
The toxic
relationship,
yeah.
how can they cope? How can they wiggle themselves out of there? How can they rise and still be able to gather themselves and be strong?
Well, basically, you would start with identifying the key causes and the key aspects you're looking at to be reasons that, yes, indeed, this is a toxic relationship. When you get constant criticisms, that is one of the, I could call it red flags. When you get constant arguments here and there, like out of the blue, someone says something and then you're too defensive, then you start, fighting over nothing.
Small things.
Then there is neglect, whereby someone doesn't mind about you at all, no matter what you do.
And someone
To
still
an
doesn't
extent,
see, yeah.
some who are in a relationship even give up providing necessities to their children.
Yes.
To an extent where friends even fail to work with you. You're at work, you're meant to drive a goal home, but these people are not giving you a helping hand.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the day, you're looking at now, there is no support. Because someone is either not supporting you physically, mentally, maybe emotionally,
Yes.
or even financially. When you realize, Rachel, when you realize someone is not looking out for you, and someone is not dying to see that, yes, I'm trusting this relationship we're building, be it friendship, be it husband and wife, those are one of the red flags.
So how
And
can
when it
someone
comes
cope
to
with
that abuse, where now someone physically hits a lady, hits a friend, hits a boy, hits a girl, just know that is worse. So first and foremost, you have to first identify all those red flags.
Yes.
You first identify all those causes. If you see that you're in a relationship that has all those causes that are going to cause distress, discomfort, and someone is
Manipulation, yes.
manipulating you,
Run.
just know that is not the relationship you're looking for. And when you look at, after identifying all those, just hit back and look at yourself. Is this worth living? Am I worth living in such a relationship? Does it take time for me to keep in this relationship? I mean, do I really need to invest a lot for me to stay?
Yes.
If you realize that you do not need, then identify yourself and say, I'm ready to let go. I'm
Yes.
ready to move, and all this can be history, but my life matters.
Yes.
At the end of the day, if you feel like, yes, you've identified and looked at yourself and also critically analyzed all the situation, then you're free to talk to people.
Yes. Reach
Select
out
a
for
few
help.
friends. You should be selective of a few friends you have. Just talk to one or two. Choose out those people. I believe all of us have friends. There could be multiple friends, but that those selective friends you can sit down and talk to, because there is a lot at heart.
Yes.
If you happen to share, sometimes when you share, the burden lessens.
Yes.
When you share the problems you have at heart, kinda, calm down a bit.
Actually, there's a saying for that.
Exactly.
A problem shared is a problem
Have
half solved.
Thank you so much. So when you share with people, when you share with friends, you're able to at least have a percentage of what can be put down. Then you can also, if now we go to abuse. Oh my God, I wouldn't love to see a relationship ending into fights and someone is hitting you with objects, is hitting you physically. You need to seek help. And that is where mental health comes in.
Yes.
That is why you run to counselors. I've seen so many people go to family members, but just know sometimes family members sit you down. After a certain talk, someone will sweet talk you, someone will promise you heaven and earth, and you go back. But if something persists for more than once, twice, thrice, just know this time around you need a counselor.
Yeah.
You need someone who will sit you down, a professional who will sit you down. You explain everything. And one particular advice I would give people that are in a toxic relationship is be open.
Yes.
You don't need to hide anything from anyone. If it's meant that someone abuses me sexually, please talk it out, because someone needs to feel your story such that they can be able to help you.
Yeah.
Because, Rachel, if I've not felt your story, I will not know what you're going through.
Yes.
You will just highlight and tell me someone criticizes me this way. That's not enough. Go as far as how you're treated, how you really feel that this has come to the edge, and you feel like I need no more time to stay here.
Yes.
So be open and tell these professionals about what you're going through.
Yes.
But besides, be selective of who you tell, because not everyone has a listening ear and has time to analyze your situation and advise you accordingly.
Yeah.
Because some of us actually listen to the stories and then you go around, you make it viral instead.
Yes.
That's when you
Instead of
find
giving
girl
help.
A, girl B, girl C is talking about things I shared with you in a chit chat room, whereby I was seeking for help, but just because you're this person that cannot advise me in a very right way, instead you're demoralizing me, instead you're stressing me the more. That is when now it is toxic after toxic. Because if I leave my relationship with my husband and wife, or I go to a friend and then you're the same particular person who is doing that,
I
then
won't
that
be
is
able to share with
too
you.
much of it.
Yeah,
But that's why I call upon you to involve professionals, because these people are professionally ready to advise you. They're mentally ready to have that session of talking to you. And at the end of the day, you need to choose your life.
Yeah.
Your life
Choose the
matters.
past.
Just look at your life, your future, your current you, and what you will have if at all you stay in that relationship, or if at all you leave that particular relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Farida,
You're welcome.
for sharing. I think the take homes from everything that you've been able to say is identify. If you can be able to see the red flags,
Yeah.
share.
Yeah.
When you share, you can be able to get help. But as well, when you share to the right people
Sure.
who can be able to guide you and enable you make the right choices. I think what I could conclude is, personally, instead of waiting for everything to escalate, nip something from the grassroots level. I mean, if you see someone and maybe you've identified, it might be a friend, a workmate, a family member, and you really see that they have toxic tendencies, just cut them off. cut them off while you're still young. In the end, choose you, because you are a priority. You matter. Your mental health and physical health all matter. That has been it from us, from the Cuptalk show. We thank Topoa Youth Mentoring Uganda for sponsoring the show. And until next time, I hope you've been able to learn something. And hopefully, if there's someone going through such a toxic relationship, you can be able to make the right choices. That has been it from us. Peace and love. Goodbye.